Who's throwing the switch?
Taylor's going to get it started.
All right.
Okay, we're all set to go live. You want to just do an intro, Steve? We're ready to go.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Stats Race Lens webinar. Hope you had a terrific Breeders' Cup, and we continue to work and try to figure out all the different utilities at Race Lens to help you be more effective. Got an opportunity tonight to dig into the past performances, see how to manipulate them, see how to take full advantage of everything that is beneath the surface. Happy to have Craig Walker back with us, and Craig's going to walk you through, literally, walk you through the PPs. Craig, good evening.
Hi, Steve. Good to be back.
How was the cup for you?
Just okay. You know, I was happy with the things that we gave out in the seminar a couple weeks ago. I did go with Dan's horse. He liked that Lancaster Bomber, and then if people had followed our at Stats Race Lens on Twitter, Oscar Performance was the horse who won the race, and he was the horse that I gave out that day for having a nice angle. It was a good jockey trainer combination, so that was a nice exacta that ended up coming in. But you know, I went a little too Eurocentric that race, and I didn't have my big bets on that combination. But you know, I had a good win in place bets on the Lancaster Bomber. So I thought from where he was positioned, he ran a really nice race. Absolutely,
and in terms of the day overall, there were plenty of the 2 days. You know, there was the perfect mix, as usual, of unusual horses that may have given some clues to their potential, and including them made all the difference. And whether you played multis or whether you played individual races, you know, it's always just a thrilling couple of days of horseplay, and no matter what level of interest that you've got, you come away so appreciative of days like that, where the field size and the pool size, and to some degree, a little bit of the randomness that makes it such a unique couple of days of horseplay. It's always special. Then, of course, you fold in the kinds of quality that we were treated to, and particularly the features both days. That finale on Friday night, a race that'll stay with people forever, and didn't really matter if you were behind Songbird or Beholder or even behind Stellar Wit. You came away enthralled, and then, of course, treated to an amazing show from Arrogate and California Chrome, who very well may get together again at Gulfstream at the end of January, and it'll be interesting to see what Race Lens tells us about Pegasus when the time comes. Let's dive in, Craig, and take a look at the screen that you've got up, and get a feel for the PPs, and really the place to start in a lot of ways in terms of figuring out what lies beneath the surface of the Race Lens format.
Yeah, and kind of on the surface, this topic tonight doesn't seem as exciting as handicapping the Breeders' Cup or being able to create your own personal angles. But as far as the day in, day out handicapping, getting the past performances set up the way that you like them is one of the most important things that Race Lens can help you do. And so we get lots of questions every day on the PPs, and so I wanted to cover some of those things and just dig right in. And for any race, when you have a race card open, when you want to launch a race, you just click on the PPs icon, and that will launch the PPs for the race. And so basically, the default is called the stats format. So over here on this drop-down menu, this is where you're always going to move between the different formats that are available. So I just wanted to go over the three main expert templates are called the stats format, the Equibase format, and the TrackMaster format. And we get questions every day on what are the differences between them, and one isn't better than the other, but it's just what a person is used to and what appeals to them as far as the look and feel of things. So in the stats format, I just want to kind of go over the things that differ between the three. The lifetime record has the same look and feel as an Equibase past performance does, and some of the other PPs out there. It's very basic. In this section here where there's the projected ratings, these are the ratings that the stats team has come up with algorithms to project how horses are going to run today with their pace figures for the early, the middle, and then the late is how they close. So those projected ratings, that's what you'll see if you have the stats format or the Equibase format selected. When we take a look at the TrackMaster format, we'll see a little different output there. Some of the other things that differ between all three formats are the symbols for the different types of tracks. So all three have for a turf race a T and a circle, but some of the other symbols, if someone's used to using Equibase past performances, they're a customer Equibase, they'll want to use the Equibase format, and if they're a TrackMaster customer, they'll be used to the TrackMaster format. So that's just something we put in so people are comfortable with the past performances that they're using. So when you use this drop-down menu, we'll just jump under the expert template. We'll jump to the Equibase format now. And one of the things that you'll see differently here is that we're in the, let me go back to the stats format one moment. So here when we have what we call the situational statistics, so these are for, this column here is for the trainer, the top of this column here is for the jockey, and then there's sire and dam information down here. All this information in the TrackMaster format and the stats format has ROI as a percentage. So an ROI of 0 would be break even. So when we go to the Equibase format, you see that some people are used to a different format where it's showing what happens whenever you invest $2. So when you see something that's $2, like for Jockey Tyler Bays on his last 30 days, when you see the $2, you know that's break even. So that's the same as 0% for the ROI. So that's, as I said, that's what some people are more comfortable with. Also, one of the defaults in the Equibase format, the race conditions, when the purse is higher for a race, a past race than today's race, then they're highlighted in green, and that some people like to look at that, and so that is something that we had in as a default in the Equibase format. So between all the formats, we have things that different people would be interested in. We wanted people to see examples of the different things that they can do, and so that's why we have them kind of, everything is very similar, but there's slight differences, and that helps people understand what RaceLens can do. One of the other things in the Equibase format is the money earned this year. When a horse is the highest in the race, then you'll see that there is a circle around the money earned. So that's a quick way to see who's the top money earner in a race. And then we'll just jump down to the TrackMaster format. And so the biggest difference in the TrackMaster format is the lifetime record box is a little bit different. It's the style that TrackMaster has had for the last 20 years, and we know that some customers are comfortable with that, and that's why we have that there. On our pace ratings in the TrackMaster regular past performance, the Platinum past performances, we have averages for the early, middle, and the final running time, and so we wanted to keep that same format there. And one of the biggest differences in the TrackMaster format is that we put the actual race-by-race early and middle pace figures in the race. And so that's listed in this column is the early pace figures, and this column is the middle pace figures. And so that's the biggest difference between that format and the stats and Equibase formats, because they just have the traditional look of the leaders' running times in that area there. So those are just some of the things that I wanted to go over as far as the different formats, because that's a question that pops up very frequently.
Craig, Herb's got a question that's and it's been partially answered on the applet, but he was saying that when he prints out using the stats format, it's been difficult to read, and he wanted to know if there was a way to turn the highlights off so that it doesn't obfuscate when printed. And the suggestion is to create a new template that takes off the highlights. I mean, is that the only way to make that happen, or is there a control that would diminish the highlighting?
Yeah, currently there is no way to do that for the printing, but I can add that. I mean, that's I haven't heard that request before, but I mean, it seems like a pretty logical request, so it's something that we can put on the list. But otherwise, when we go into looking at the way that you control the highlighting, you can create a PP of your own making where there would be no highlighting, and then that way printing wouldn't be an issue, and you could keep everything else the same as the way you're looking at it when you're on the screen. And you could just, whenever you're jumping between the different formats, it's just as simple as as clicking on this down the file here, the name, and then just choosing which type of file you have. So you could have one that a user template that you created, and you could call it the print format, and you could just create it, and then you would click on it here, and then just print the entire race card. So that would be a simple way to get that done.
Nice, beautiful.
So I do just want to go over a couple of the other formats here. So the situational templates are 10 different templates that we had come up with that we thought might be common for people. I'm not really going to spend too much time on it here. I have deleted 5 of them in my own situation because I don't use these too often. But the templates there are good to go in and look at, just so you get an idea of the different settings that you can use and how they work. But they're basically the same as creating your own user template. So I just wanted to click on a user template here, and I wanted to bring up a race that that is coming up at Churchill Downs to just show how the situational templates or the user created templates, why you would create your own templates, not just because of the look and feel, but for certain situations. So I'm going to jump to Churchill Downs for Saturday. I'm going to go to race 7. So this is a mile and 3/8 turf marathon. So that's, when I look at these types of races, I want horses that have experience running long distances. So when I click on the format that I want, when I go to the user template, I click on the turf marathon race. What this is going to do is it's going to highlight all the longer distances. So anywhere from 1.25 miles to 2 miles. Those are the past performances that are going to get highlighted. So when I go through each of these horses, the other lines are grayed out, but as you see, like both of these races are 1 mile and 3/8. You have other races that are 1.5 miles, 1.25 miles, 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles. So it gives me a quick indication of how this horse is done in these types of races. So when I'm looking at this race, like this horse, I always look at the class rating. There's a 103. So when I look at the past history, I'm trying to look for horses that run around that number as a speed rating. That's one of the ways that you use the class rating of a race. It's based on the way the horses all the horses in the field, how they've run before. So the higher speed ratings that they've run before, the higher the class rating is going to be. And so to compete in a 103 race, you normally have to have races that are close to 103. So I would just go, for me in a turf marathon, I'm going to ignore my normal handicapping and just go down the list looking at the horses. You see quickly this horse doesn't have any long races. Same thing with the 3 horse, the 4 horse, the 5 horse. We jump to the 6 horse, and it also has 3 races that are long distances, but still the speed ratings for those races are on the low side. This race had a win at 1.5 miles, so that's positive. It broke its maiden going to distance, so it seems like it has distance potential, but the speed rating was still slow. So this is the first horse that, okay, is now getting in the right neighborhood. So this horse has 1 race at 1.25 miles, and it ran 100 speed rating. The class rating of the race was 106, so it seems like it was a tougher race than today. So this is a horse that I would give a good chance to. Also, as you see, the Sadler's Joy and Hunter O'Reilly, they are italicized, so that means they both won their next race, so that's a good sign too. So this horse is definitely a contender. This horse here has 1 race, 1.5 miles. It ran well. I mean, this one would be, maybe a borderline horse similar to the 6. It has some possibilities. Then we jump down to the 10. And this is the horse that we can see has broke its maiden at 1 mile and 3/8. Then a couple races later ran in a nice stakes race at Kentucky Downs and scored a big figure of 103. Ran against Oscar Nominated, who ran on the undercard on Breeders' Cup weekend. And so this is the horse that would be the top horse for me, going through all the running lines, and I'm just trying to look at experience and the type of races that these horses have ran and the longer races. And so, this race is coming up on Saturday. The 10 would be my key, with the 8 as a secondary key, and then, probably the 6 and the I forget the other horse that we said, the 9. So that's the way that I handicap this race, rather than the traditional way of handicapping. And this is just one way of how this can work. The race lens for certain situations. You jump into specialty templates that are going to help you come to your answers quicker and faster.
If you were, Craig, if you wanted to try to speculate as to who may be trying the distance for the first time, and a way to incorporate something like late pace, what potential is there to utilize some like an added layer beside previous experience at the distance?
Right. So the late pace you can look at in the different if you're in the Equivase or let me just change it to, let's go back to this, to the stats format. So the pace late is always going to be when you're in the Equivase or stats format. It'll be right here in the PPs itself. But the other way, so this horse was 5th ranked out of the 11 horses in the race, and it shows the late pace number. If we just jump to the True Odds module, we can always just sort on late pace, and so this is going to give us an idea of the horses sorted from the best to the slowest on late pace. And so that's where you can look at that.
Nice.
Any other? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm kind of seeing how, because I'm a big fan of the True Odds, and I'm just trying to see if there's any other tools. If there's any other tools to adjust. I mean, how about in the slider within the settings? Is there something that that gives us hints to lean on for a race like this?
Yeah, I don't. It kind of is on a race by race basis with these types of races, and so I haven't done enough experimentation with the way that we do it. Of course, is in this adjusted 1% probability factors. So, or this one, I must have put class on high to try to adjust things. So I should put this. Let me put this back, and we'll see. This will actually give you what the win percentages are with the sliders normally set. So, looking at this information, Racelens likes, the 2 and the 5. It always highlights the horses that the adjusted true odds are lower than the morning line odds. But when the race day actually starts in the betting, it's going to, instead of compare these adjusted true odds to the morning line, it'll get compared to the live odds, and so that's when it'll show you which ones are the overlays, and the adjusted true odds get adjusted slightly when the live odds come into place, because it does take into account the odds themselves, and so it gives horses a little bit better chance when they're lower odds, and it just kind of is trying to help you not make big mistakes in your handicapping where you think a horse should be 2-1 and he's going off 30-1. If you're controlling your bet size on how big advantage you have, you want to kind of make that a little bit less, maybe the bet size, just because in the long run, you're not gonna be that much smarter than the public in the long run, but you can be on a, when you're picking and choosing your spots and really try to hit something good. So that's just trying to help control any kind of excess that you might be thinking of.
Open up. There's a couple of questions on the applet too, Craig, that we should incorporate, and I think one was already answered about the late pace. But opening that up again, slide the distance, the distance factor. I'm curious because here between pedigree and there's a question. We talked about true odds a couple of webinars ago, but there may be people that are joining us for the first time. How do you suggest everybody tinker in terms of the influence? What you had class all the way to the 4 or 5, starting out, but what degree does each of the positions on the slider? How do you decide? I mean, if you're fairly novice at this.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is through experimentation. I mean, I myself, we're working on this project so hard. Like, I haven't been able to spend as much time as I want, but I would encourage someone to spend a lot of time on it. And one thing that we're working on right now is that we're putting in an adjustment here on the win probability factors. One thing we're going to be adding either by the end of the year or early next year will be based on track condition. So a lot of times if the track is sloppy or it's a soft turf, you want some different breeding factors, or how the horses run on that type of track before, or how the trainer does on that type of track, and the sire and dam. And so that's a new slider that we're going to be adding at some point that's going to help that. And then we're also adding we're in the development stage right now, and we've seen wireframes, and we're within the next month and a half or so, we're hoping to have a way to set up sliders for different types of races. So for dirt routes with 2-year-olds, you may always want the class to be a 4 and the form to be a 3, and the trainer to be a 4, let's say. You just think those are important factors. I don't care what 2-year-old dirt route race it is. I always want to start off with the sliders like that. So we're going to put that interface into place, and so we're going to have probably about 10 or 15 in there already for people to help them start off, and they'll be able to turn them on and off, and they'll be able to create their own. And then before you even have to mess with the sliders, just your philosophy on different types of races, it's going to be there right there for you, and then you can manually adjust them from there on a race by race basis. And we're excited about that piece, that it kind of was asked for by a lot of people, and we figured out a way to do it, and I think it's gonna really make a big difference and help people use the sliders even more.
A couple of applet concerns and questions. The evaluating, for instance, I mean, a horse that might be more of a closer or late pace, in terms of influence, is that something that distance is distance enough of a category in general to to indicate that horses that finish well are getting extra credit in terms of the true odds?
Yeah, I can't answer for sure on that, because all of those the algorithms on the sliders and the true odds is all kind of a black box. The stats quantitative team, they spent a long time developing the algorithms for that, and so sometimes I have maybe some general knowledge on what's in there, but for the most part, the nuts and bolts, and there could be on one of the sliders, there could be 20 different inputs on it, and I don't know the exact ratio on all those things, so that's hard to know. So that's why some of it is down to the experimentation, and like I said, once we have these other things in place, definitely you'll be able to see more of how that influence works. I wanted to just get back into the PPs, and just kind of, I do want to go over how people customize the past performances. So we talked about how to access those special formats. So when a user wants to create their own formats, they click on Customize PPs. And so one of the most simple things you use here is you would click on the radio button to choose what format you're going to use as your default, and whatever you're most comfortable with, for using from race to race, that's the one that you should set as the default. And then that way you just use the drop down menu to move for the specialty formats. But we're just going to click edit here on the stats format. And so if there are certain things you like about the stats format, but you want to add other things, then this is where you would do it, through this interface. So the customizing the display, this is just having the look and feel the way that you want it. So you can determine the number of running lines that are used. You can have it be lifetime past performances if you want. That's what I tend to do on some of the specialty formats, like the one that we saw with the marathon format. That one does show lifetime PPs for all the horses. You may not think that a short layoff line should be after 30 days and a long layoff after 60 days. You might think it should be 45 and 90. You can just make the changes there. For the pace, the horses' pace figures, that's the one that we saw in the TrackMaster format. You can also, the leader's fractional times, that's the normal way that most past performances are displayed. You can look at incremental times, or you can look at the individual horse's fractional or incremental times. So you can set up formats with that. Instead of having the fractions in tenths, you can show it in hundredths. You can merge workouts and scratches right into the running lines if you'd like. And so you can see everything here. The other things, these are just where you control kind of the look and feel of the past performances, and that's fairly standard in any type of software similar to Stats RaceLens. When you click on the filter PP lines, this is where I was able to create the turf marathon. I also had the dirt marathon, some of the other formats that that were the situational formats they're using these filters to filter running lines in certain situations. So like one that I deleted because I wanted to create it again here just to show you how to do it is for the current track condition to have a way to quickly look at running lines that match up with that. So I just highlight current track condition, and then I put the surface as today's surface just because good can be on turf or dirt, but you could just do the current track condition. Some people might think running well on good dirt is good for good turf too. So I mean, it's whatever whatever you think. And so so I'll just call this current condition, and I just save it. So whenever you create a format, it's just going to automatically make that as the default. So whenever you want to change it back, if you click on Customize TPs, you can always just go back to a different format, and it'll change that as the default. So like the current track condition one, there was a race I looked at yesterday from Aqueduct. I just want to look at real quick. So Aqueduct, most of the races were off the turf yesterday, but the 8th race was on the turf.
Yeah, it stayed on.
Yeah. So what I would do is since it was a soft, if you click on the program, if I click on program changes, I could see it, but I know it was a soft turf. So when I just click on my user templates, now we have that current condition, the one I just created. When I click on that, it's going to show all the turf races where the condition was soft for horses, because my theory is horses who have ran well on soft turf before are going to run well today. So this horse, Glorious Empire, had run well on the soft turf, been on soft turf twice, won both times. I mean, when you look at the at wet turf, it's only won 3 out of 8, but it's 2 for 2 on soft. That's kind of for me, a good horse to take a flyer on. The only other horse in the race that had any soft turf experience was the 2, and he ended up getting scratched. That's what the grayed out shows in the SCR by the post position here. And if we were to go through all the other horses in the race, no one else had run on soft turf before. So when I handicapped this race, I knew that the 1 was a good horse to take a flyer on. And unfortunately, he got off to a very poor start, but he came closing for 3rd and paid $10 to show. So that's just showing you some of the power of looking for corner cases on things and how you can do it with race lens. And to me, this one is great, the current track condition, because that's something 10 minutes, 5 minutes before a race, something I might have not handicapped before, I might just look at real quickly, and then I find a horse that has some potential, and I'm going to throw him in with the other horses I handicapped. And so it's it's something that Race Lens is really good at, and that has helped me using Race Lens in the past, certain specialty situations.
Craig, in terms of condition, and because virtually every level of turf condition is a nuance, yielding, soft, etc., and also because European turf, their conditions are considerably different. I mean, between good, soft, and the degradations. Is there just a way to distinguish non-firm and get a catch-all for yielding, heavy, and soft?
Sure. So when we click on the Customize TPs, and we'll just edit the stats format.
There it is. Yeah, other than firm. I've never noticed that before.
Yeah, so there was one already there, and then if you were creating it on your own, same thing when we're in the Yeah. So you would just do when you just do off track, and then you click on the surface. You would pick dirt or turf, and you could set up a PP like that. But it was we already had that in the it was one of the ones that we put in. We thought people would want to use, so that's why it's already in the situational PPs. So
Turf other than for beautiful.
Yeah. So that's all you would click on that one, and so everyone should have that in, if they haven't deleted it before, that'll show those running lines all the time.
Craig, go back for just a second, because there's a question answered that we haven't gotten to yet on the previous situationals, which is turf marathon, dirt marathon.
Yeah. So those were the you're talking about these two here?
Well, yeah, because we had the question a little earlier, and I don't think we ever got to it. Let me go back. The interesting point was brought out about horses that have moved historically in their careers interchangeably, going mile and a quarter, mile and a half, mile and 5/8 on both turf and dirt. And I thought it was a point well taken. A horse like Red Rifle, and being able to broaden the surface by distance, so that horses show up that may be making a surface switch. A horse that has clearly proven that a marathon distance is to his liking, and as opposed to kind of glossing over a horse that hasn't run on the turf yet, but very well may have run a mile and 3/8, a mile and a half.
Yeah. So the way that was set up. Let me just click on. We're going to edit that turf marathon. We'll take a look at it. So when I go into my filter PP lines, you can see that I set the surface as turf. So if I just change it to all surfaces and then just save it. So when that gets applied now, it wouldn't just filter out I don't know if there was a horse in the race who had some other surfaces, but it wouldn't just show those other. Just show the turf. It would show other distances too.
Nice.
I don't know. Yeah. So there is a way to set it up for that. So I do want to get into one of the other pieces of of customizing the PPs, because this is the part that a lot of people are interested in. So let me just change this to the stats format. So when I want to go now to the create conditional formats, and this is one of the things that is unique to RaceLens, is that there are ways to have highlighting for different factors that are in the past performances. So this menu on the left here is the category that we're looking at. So you can see there's trainer, jockey, pedigree, form, etc. And when you click on each one of these, a menu will come up that's going to show that if you want it, that auto highlighting, how it would be used. So as you see, when these are all blue, that means all these are on. So when the person talked earlier about not wanting the highlighting on, all you would do is for anything that's highlighted, you would just click these off, and then and set that up under a certain name as printout format. You could always jump to that and print out the race card, and nothing would be highlighted if that was what you preferred to have. So that's the answer. That's the simple way to set that up. So any of this highlighting, it's going to show over here how the highlighting is what it's going to look like. So this means it's going to be the text is green and the underline green. This means just green underline. This one here means everything's going to be red. And so if you wanted to change what any of this is going to look like, for each row, when you click on format, you can change the text color or the underline, or the highlighting is the fill color. Strike through would put a line through it. Other things have a circle around it, and you can change the color on it. So that's how this formatting gets done. So I just want to go back to the PPs. So the formatting we're talking about is up here. What we just looked at was for the trainer, the highlighting for the different statistics. So you can see when anything here is highlighted in green and underlined, that's even when we mouse over it, it tells us that means that that's a highly above average win percent for going down in class or off 2 to 6 months. Same thing with the ROI. That's the way it's highlighted. These ROIs here are highlighted in red, so that means that those return on investments are on the low side. So even though that this is an above average win percent for Linda Rice, her last 30 days, she's been getting over bet. I mean, that's just, nothing to fault her. It's just, she's a popular trainer who's been getting bet heavily. And so this kind of just shows you at a glance. I mean, when we first started doing this project, this is like the thing that surprised me the most is that sometimes I would handicap a race and I would start going back through each race, and then I would start looking for lots of green up in these headers. So anywhere up in this horse header, under the trainer and the jockey, a lot of times horses that I might have overlooked, I started looking and seeing, hey, this horse had a lot of positives. So I like to play the horizontal wagers. So pick threes, pick fours, things like that. And so I started putting horses like that in my bets, and it wasn't costing me a lot more. It was just a race here or there. But I started hitting some nice prices, and I would say within the first 6 months of using this, there was 3 or 4 signers that I wouldn't have hit otherwise. And so it kind of, a bell went off in my mind, and I look at these things all the time, and it's just something, even after I'm done handicapping a race, I just still go through it one more time just to make sure I haven't missed anything, and you can do it very quickly, and that's been one of the biggest surprises, for me.
Craig, stay on 388, which is a horse that came up, as it happens, on the show this morning on radio, because I'm very friendly with the owner, Aaron Yagoda, and this is named after a restaurant, Roslyn, that's his favorite. And it's a horse that was claimed away from him in her first start, and he claimed her back. This happened to be a horse that he had a real interest and affection for, and he went back and got her. And yes, he did drop her down to 25 to get the win. But one of the things that we've covered in angles is horses claimed back by trainer. Is there a way to also notate horses that have had a horse claimed from them that they've claimed back? Because that would be a wrinkle that I don't think is available anywhere.
Sure, I can put that. We don't have a claim back by owner. I mean, we only have by trainer right now. But yeah, that is something we could add to the list down the development side. So I've already written that down as a note. I do want to get back to the customizing PPs and back to these conditional formats. So other than the highlighting that we showed, the jockey has the similar highlighting. We also have one here that'll put a plus sign by the jockey's name if it's a positive jockey switch. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I think it's not just subtle jockey switches. It's like if a rider is, I think, 5% or less in the rider of the previous race, and today's jockey's win percent is, I think, 16% or higher. So that's something that we have set there. Under pedigree, we just circle the sire, the dam's name when they have a high win percentage with first-time starters. And of course, if a person doesn't want to see that, you just toggle things off, and those things wouldn't get displayed. For form, we just have the horse for course. So this always, when you see the running lines, the the track code will be highlighted. I mean, default is green. That's what we have it in, but that's what you'll always see. Uh, so in class, like when I showed you in the very beginning, when we looked at the Equibase format, the horse that had the highest earnings this year, we saw that that was circled. You can also do that for highest lifetime earnings. The race conditions with the purse higher or equal to today's purse, that one's already toggled on in the Equibase format, and you saw that those race conditions were highlighted in green. Um, these here are in all the formats that the highest class rating in the field and the second highest get. This one gets circled, and the text is in green, and the second highest class rating in the field is just a green circle. And then pace ratings are off in the stats format. If we were in the TrackMaster format, these would all be on because that's the one that shows the pace figures. And so, but if you wanted those to be done in the stats format, you could turn them on and then go to customize display and change the leaders times to horses pace figures, and they would get displayed there. And then the speed figures get highlighted in these different ways. And like I said, you can turn them off or on, or you can do them in other colors. So it's, you know, basically whatever the user's desire is on how he wants these things to look and feel, then that's how they're going to get done. So, you know, you have a lot of leeway, a lot of options to personalize the past performances the way that you like them. And so there was one last piece of the conditional formatting that I wanted to go over, and this is kind of going to lead us into the next seminar that's going to happen in 2 more weeks from today, and that's going to be the research module. So the research module is accessed by clicking on the icon up here at the top next to the PPs called research, and in a couple of weeks we're going to go into detail on how to use all that, because our research tool isn't just for trainers, it's also for jockeys, sires, and dams. So there's a lot to go over there. But there are default settings for research, and so those get displayed in the past performances, and so they get displayed in 2 places. So the piece that we call summary research gets displayed up here in the horse header, and so they're the items that are labeled in orange. So today means today's trainer, so Linda Rice, with something that's happening with today's race. So when you're in a race, it doesn't matter if you're on the 1 horse, the 2 horse, the 3 horse. The things for today under the trainer and jockey today, sire today, dam today, those are based on today's race. So they're going to be the same filters for every single horse in the race. So as you can see here with the defaults, it's the past 2 years, dirt, excluding the all-weather, track, and sprints. So that's how this trainer has done in that situation. And so the time frames can be different for everything. So like the trainers, the past 2 years, for the dam, we have it set, the default as lifetime, and it's the same thing, dirt, excluding all weather, tracks, sprints. And then the sire and the jockey today, you can always mouse over those things, and that's going to explain to you what's being displayed here. The other part of research is called individual research. So that's based on a horse by horse basis. So when I mouse over the trainer, when you see it's past 5 years, and then it's second after a layoff dirt sprints. So that means the horse today it's his second race after a layoff. So these things are always going to match up with what's happening today with the horse today. So when I go to a different trainer, you know, this horse it's first after a layoff. So that is a different, and it's going from a route to a sprint. So the settings that you use in customized PPs, we're going to go look at the space where it's done. They're totally controlled by you, the user, and so there's the two different types. And so I just wanted to go over this last piece of customizing the PPs. When you click on Customize PPs, down here at the very bottom, this is going to this is going to show you where you set up how those filters get used. And so in summary research, we just click on the Edit button. And so the way that this works is the different players are here, whether it's a trainer, jockey, sire, or dam. This is the one that was. These are the ones that were labeled today when we looked at the PPs. So as we looked at all those, we saw that there was, in the today section, they all had 3 filters that were matched. And so basically, time frame is always one of the filters because you have to have some type of time frame. And the way that we set up the defaults for the trainer, it's 2 years, but you can make it, set it to any of these things in the drop-down menu. And then the way it's going to go by, the category is going to be prioritized by however you decide to prioritize things. So if the purse value is more important to you, you can move that up and have it be, the number 2 thing. If you only care about purse, you can make the filters only 2. So it's just going to be the time frame and the purse, and that's it. And so that's the way that all of this is controlled by the user. So you totally can set these up however you want. And then for the way the matches work, it'll go through this list. So it always starts at the top row and goes from left to right. And as soon as whatever today's condition of race is matched, that's the one that'll be displayed in that filter that we looked at. So it's a little bit confusing at first, but once you get into it and you see how this works, really it's kind of a one-time thing. I mean, it might take you a couple iterations to get things the way you exactly want them, but it's not something that you're doing all the time. You have your certain things that are important to you that you as a handicapper feel are important. So you're going to set them up, with these checkboxes and with this basically with changing these priorities around. And what you think for a trainer could be totally different for jockey or for sire or dam. And so each one has their own separate settings, and you can just go to town and set things up exactly the way that you want them. And I've worked with a handful of users already who've through the feedback through email have asked for help on this, and I've helped them. And once they got things set up the way they like it, they fall in love with it, and they're really happy with using this feature. And then just one last thing I want to show you that there's even more is for the individual research, and that's the part that we showed you is specific horse by horse. So we click on that. It's still the same format, but now you have lots more categories to choose from, because it's not just based on all the horses, on a race by race basis, what everyone has in common. It can be things that are, trainer changes, blinker changes, like we saw in the one that was, sprint to route, route to sprints, whatever you think, and there's a lot more options to choose from. And so, like I said, you're going to spend time getting used to this, but once you have it set up, that it's only going to take you 1 or 2 or 3 times, and then once you set it up, most people aren't ever going to change it again. It's the way they want it. And then time and again, when you're in the PPs and you're looking at the orange labels stand out. Like I said, these again are whatever your settings are for summary research, and these are for individual research. You have these statistics to look at right there in the PPs, and they jump out right away, and you can look at them. So
nice.
Yeah. So that, I know I wanted to throw that part at the end. I know it's a lot, and kind of a person has to just kind of go through it, and then can always email us, statsfeedback@equibase.com, and we're always happy to answer your questions. But I wanted to get that last part in because some people didn't know that you have control over those sections too, and I just it's important for people to know that, and they can get things set up the way they like it, because sometimes the things you mouse over and you're like, I don't care about that. Well, you can change it, and from there on it'll be what you want.
And that that continues, to be the aspect of this that is so so unique, that players that have had a certain format to deal with, as the as the past performance, and not that we all don't work off of those successfully, but when you get to next, I think, to the next level, and as you grow as a player, the ability to focus in on certain things is just, it becomes part of your habit and practice when you're handicapping. And the unique feature here is to be able to move out extraneous information and let the things that are most important to you in your approach, let them jump off the page at you. As opposed to the general approach, which is you have to notice it. If you take away the things that aren't important to you, that don't figure in, it makes it that much easier to hone in on the way you identify winners yourself. And that's that's really, it seems like we get to the end of each of these lessons, and the bottom line is that it's a adaptable, customized past performance and statistic package that each player can utilize and maximize to their own interest. And then, of course, to be able for the service to comb every single race everywhere in North America on a daily basis and email into your lap the horses and the circumstances that are your prime plays. That we called it, I think originally we called it the most intricate stable watch product in history. And here's another layer of the onion peeled away.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like I say too, is that we haven't stopped yet. We keep getting feedback from users. Every single day, Stats is working on enhancements and improvements, and we just keep adding things every week. And in the next month or two, there's going to be some other advancements that are exciting, and like the couple I mentioned earlier today. Within the next month or so, we're adding more angles that are tied to workouts, and so I think we got 10 or 12 new criteria for that. So, we just want to keep getting feedback from users, and we're going to keep adding more and more things as we go down the road. So that's exciting too, and we're really happy with the feedback we're getting from users, and the improvements and the enhancements that they're asking for, and things that the focus groups and we didn't think about, and we're like, we hear it and we think, hey, that's a great idea, and we put it into the development list, and we're just moving along, and so we're excited about that still too. There are a couple of current, I just want to mention a couple specials. So there are, for people who haven't tried out before, there's or anyone, there's always the special pricing on the day pass right now of $5. So customers can get that, and also there's if you go to equibase.com, there's if you buy any PP day pass there, you get race lens for free. So that's a new promotion that we just started, and so people who are going to Equibase and using the regular pass performances, and getting a day pass for those, go check out Racelens and see what it's all about. I encourage that very much. And I think that about wraps up all the things I wanted to cover today.
Oh, terrific, Craig. And this actually would be a great weekend to utilize the offers between the sprint races at Laurel with the DeFrancis Dash card, and you got Delta Downs, of course, as well on Saturday, the Jackpot card, which came up terrific. There's a very good slate of races at Aqueduct as well with the two stakes, and a very good Saturday is here, and it'll get you a head start too into the Thanksgiving weekend racing between Churchill and Aqueduct, especially with tremendous stakes cards coming up for Holiday Fest in New York, and as Churchill winds down their November meet as well. So we appreciate everybody that came out today, and if you missed portions or if you missed any at all, able to visit at Equibase and get the replay and go through. One of the best features of everything here is the customer service, and you can see just from the chat how many people have already utilized Craig and the whole development team and everybody at Equibase. Very responsive to any issues and any questions that come up as you're handicapping and as you're utilizing Racelens. Have a great evening, everybody. Enjoy the week, and we'll talk in a couple of weeks on our next webinar. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody and their families.
Thanks, Steve.